What is up, guys? We are back with another video, and today we're checking out this keyboard right here. This is the Corsair K65 Rgb Mini. Now, up until this point, Corsair really has not made a mini type keyboard. They've gone down to 10 keyless, but they've never made a 60% keyboard, and 60% keyboards are really more of like an enthusiast thing, not even so much a gamer thing, but as they've become more popular, as that form factor has become more popular, we've seen, just recently Razer released a 60% keyboard. So we're seeing a lot more gaming focused companies, come out with 60% keyboards. And of course, Corsair is going to follow that trend. So we have the K65 Rgb Mini. So let's go ahead and take a look. Now, when it comes to form factor, 60% is pretty small. I always say, when it comes to a 60% keyboard, it's the lowest you can go without really losing a whole lot of functionality. So say, we can see, like, compared to a full-size keyboard or even a 10 keyless keyboard, you are gonna lose some things. So you're definitely gonna lose your arrow keys. Even when you move down to 10 keyless, you still get those arrow keys, but you're gonna lose those. Of course, if you're using a full-size keyboard, you're gonna lose the number pad, and you are gonna lose your entire function row. So if you're used to using that function row, like playing Apex Legends, hitting that F1 to show your replicators right off the bat, you're gonna have to hit function and then whatever your secondary function for F1 is. So those are the main things that you are going to, not get with this keyboard. But being 60% means it's very, very small, easy to pick up, easy to take with you. Talking about secondary functions, on the front side of the keycaps, you have a bunch of different legends. So you can obviously use alternate functions with this keyboard. It is fully reprogrammable as well. The overall design of the keyboard is kind of what you would expect from a 60% keyboard. As you're moving down in size, you want to eliminate as much of the keyboard as possible. So this is basically your basic layout. You just have, just enough to hold the keys, and that is basically it. And I think most 60% keyboards have this kind of like the same layout, really. Now, the chassis itself, it is made of plastic, but it's a heavier plastic and it feels good. It doesn't have any flex or anything like that. Like when I'm typing, there's no flex in the keyboard, which is good. They could have gone with aluminum or something like that, but that would of course bring the cost of the keyboard up. Now, this plastic does show fingerprints kind of a little bit. I don't know if you can see them on there, but it does show a little bit of fingerprints on there, but not that bad. And again, like I said, the overall design is what you kind of expect from a 60% keyboard. Now, the one thing that was a little weird about this keyboard is that if you look at it from the side, it sits at an angle already, but there's no more adjustment. So on the bottom of the keyboard, you have 4 rubber feet, but there's no pop-out feet to give you more of a height adjustment. It does sit pretty well. It wasn't weird or didn't feel too flat or too high of an angle, but that's something to keep in mind if you're somebody who likes to adjust their keyboard, different levels for typing, maybe one for gaming. You don't have that adjustment with this keyboard. Now, as far as the keycaps go, as I said, all one color, all black. But you do have this pretty cool spacebar. So the spacebar kind of has all these sections cut out of it. And it's gonna look really cool when, of course, you have the RGB lighting on. Just something different, something cool, something to make this stand out, compared to like a normal 60% keyboard that's just all the same kind of keys. The keycaps themselves, they are double shot PBT keycaps. I always talk about PBT keycaps. They feel so much better. It's like night and day going from ABS to PBT. PBT keycaps are heavier, they're more rugged, and they don't show wear or shine, which of course is a big deal if you're eating at your computer, or it just makes it so you don't have to clean your keyboard as often, which is really nice, which I like. And again, your legends won't rub off over time either, which is good. So under those keycaps, we have Cherry MX mechanical key switches. We all know how good Cherry MX mechanical key switches are. Now for this keyboard specifically, they are going to offer the key switches in red, silent, and speed. We have the red version, so let's go ahead and hear what these switches sound like on this keyboard. As far as the rest of the keyboard goes, there's a single connection on the top edge. It's located right in the center, which makes it pretty easy to access, and you don't have to worry about if you're gonna buy like a coiled cable, how it's gonna go off. It comes off the center, which is, like I said, conveniently located. It is USB Type-C. This is 2021. If you're making a 60% keyboard that's not USB Type-C, I'm not sure what you're doing. So you have that there. Of course, the cable is included, and it's a nice cable. It's a thinly braided cable, and it kind of has that Corsair finish that you're used to seeing if you've had any Corsair products within the past couple years. It is a very nice cable. At the top here, you do have a sort of like off black Corsair logo, but that's about it. There's not a whole lot of Corsair branding on this, which I actually kind of really like about this keyboard. Getting this keyboard set up is extremely easy. All you do is take the included USB cable, plug it into your PC, and then go ahead and plug in the keyboard. It's gonna light up and you'll be good to go. You don't have to download anything to get the keyboard to work right off the bat. And if you even wanted to change some settings, you can do them on the keyboard itself. That's always a pain. I never like doing onboard keyboard macros, changing lighting settings. I always prefer software. And of course, this is a Corsair product, so it is going to work with iCUE. So when it comes to iCUE, we actually have a new version of iCUE, or at least it's new to me because the last product I reviewed from Corsair didn't use this version of iCUE. So this is version 4.9. It is a little different. So if you're coming from an older version of iCUE, things are slightly the same, but also slightly different. On your main screen, you'll see all of your Corsair devices. As you can see, I have a bunch. And then you'll see scenes over here where you can set different scenes for your RGB lighting and stuff like that. And you can actually add sensors and all that kind of stuff. But as for the K65 Rgb Mini, you'll see it right here. Now you can go into the different settings by clicking over here, or if you just click in, you can be brought to a bigger screen that we can go into our settings. So the first two settings, or first two tabs over here, or whatever you want to call them, that we have key assignments and hardware key assignments. So the first one for key assignments, that is going to be for what's saved in iCUE. Specifically, hardware key assignments, that is going to be what is saved on the keyboard itself. So if you're taking this to a friend's house or to work or whatever, you might want to save your key assignments to the keyboard itself. Now going under key assignments, it's real simple to change something if you want. If you go in here, you can see, we can take this out or remap or whatever, but you know, we selected Q, so Q is selected, and then we can change it to a different keystroke, a mouse controller button, keyboard controller button, text, media controls. It can launch an app. We can fully disable the key. We can profile switch, and we can set a macro. When it comes to doing macros, if you click on this, it will allow you to just hit record and start recording macros. And then there's you know, general and advanced settings for macros, but redoing your keys is extremely, extremely easy. The next set of settings is lighting effects and hardware lighting. Again, same thing here. You know, the main lighting effects are what is actually going to be saved in iCUE, and then the hardware lighting is if you don't have iCUE installed. So again, you might want to save it to the hardware lighting section. In here, we can just go in and see we have a ton of different presets that are already in here. We have custom lighting. We can set up lighting link, which will link all of your Corsair devices so they go through the same effect. And then you can do quick lighting zones. So you can do all WASD keys, you know, a bunch of different keys that you want to select, or you can just select keys yourself. Like we can just select a couple keys and then change whatever that may be. You can change the colors of the effect. You can change the speed of the effect. The lighting, like most Corsair products, is pretty in-depth and pretty easy to do. Under performance, we can turn on or off what's on, or we can turn on or disable what is disabled. I can't talk. What is disabled when we have Windows lock turned on. So if we enable Windows lock, it can also disable Alt plus Tab, Alt F4, Shift plus Tab, and of course the Windows key, which of course we want to. And then the indicator colors if things are locked, profiles, and the memory record button if you're recording macros on the fly, which I wouldn't recommend. And then finally we have device settings, and this always freezes for me for some reason, so it's gonna freeze. And there it finally comes up. So firmware, you can easily update your firmware. You can set your pooling rates. You can adjust your brightness, set the layout if you're, changing the layouts, swap menu functions, lock button indication. So if you want those indication LEDs if you're locking buttons, and then what's on the memory itself. And of course you can clear the onboard memory. So that is iCUE. It still needs some work compared to the old version, I would say. And again, every time you hit device settings, it's gonna freeze for a second, which is a little weird to me. But overall, this new version of iCUE, I like it. It looks a little bit more current, I would say. But like with any piece of software, it definitely needs some work. The lighting on this keyboard is great. You have full per key RGB backlighting. There is that white top plate that allows the RGB glow to kind of look uniform across the entire keyboard. There are a ton of effects. You can pretty much do whatever you want when it comes to lighting with this keyboard. All right, so when it's all said and done, I think that Corsair has a really good 60% keyboard here in their K95 Rgb Mini. When it comes to 60% keyboards, it kind of checks all the boxes, and just keyboards in general when it comes to what you want in a gaming keyboard. As far as the design, it's simple and plain. When you're moving down to 60%, you don't want any extra space on the keyboard. There really isn't. It's a small chassis. The chassis is plastic, so it's something to keep in mind. Obviously, it's pretty heavy plastic, and there's not a whole lot of give or anything like that. They could have, used aluminum or something like that, but that's of course going to bring the price of the keyboard up. You have Cherry MX mechanical key switches. They offer them in red, speed, and silent. We all know how good Cherry MX switches are. So you have those there as well. And then you have double shot PBT keycaps. I will probably never use on a daily basis a keyboard that doesn't have PBT keycaps. They feel so much better. They kind of have that rugged look, but beyond the look, they're gonna feel much better. They're not gonna show shine or wear over time. You ever like eat food and then use your keyboard and then you have to completely clean the whole thing off? That won't happen. You won't have oils from your skin, transferring onto the keys and just making your keyboard look dirty. And again, as I said, they feel extremely comfortable there as well. This, of course, is a Corsair product, so it works with iCUE. You can, reprogram the entire keyboard. You can set all the RGB lighting. RGB lighting is per key. You can do a ton of stuff with it. What's really nice too is that you can save both key profiles as well as effects, RGB effects on the keyboard itself. So if you're taking this to and from work or you're going over a friend's house, they don't have to install iCUE. Everything can be saved on the keyboard itself. USB Type-C, it's 2021. If you have a 60% keyboard that's not USB Type-C, I don't know what you're doing. So you have that there as well. And then the price, it's $109.99, which I think is very fair. It puts it in the same category as Razer's Huntsman Mini, the Ducky 1-2 Mini, and the Annie Pro 2. They're all around the same price, give or take. So I think it's really good. And like I said, you have the other things that I didn't really talk about that much, like their Axion processor, 800 or 8000 hertz hyper pulling. Like you have all that with this keyboard. The only thing that I really didn't like is that there's no height adjustment. So when it's sitting flat, you don't have a whole lot of height adjustment. That's really the only thing I didn't like about it. So if you have any questions about this keyboard, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, I would appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up, and we'll see you guys in the next video.